Unit 4, Past Perfect. 4. Past Perfect. Past perfect simple and continuous. A. Context listening. 1. You are going to hear a teenage boy called Richard talking to his mother. Before you listen, look at the picture and answer these questions. 1. How has Richard spent the weekend? 2. How does his mother feel? Why? 2. Listen and check if you are right.
Unit 4. Recording 6.
Hi, Richard. I'm home. Where are you?
Upstairs, Mum. In my room.
Oh, Richard. Whatever have you been doing?
I've been painting my room.
Yes, I can see that. But why did you change colour halfway through?
Well, I'd done the ceiling and I'd painted one wall when I ran out of paint. So I went to the shop for some more, but then I realised the second pot was a slightly different colour. That's why it looks a bit odd.
But why were you painting anyway? I thought you'd planned lots of things to do with your friends.
Oh, they were all busy in the end. And yesterday afternoon I was bored. I'd been to town for a few hours, round the centre. I'd done the shopping, everything on your list, and I'd finished all my homework, so I decided to paint my room.
Well, I suppose you can put some posters up. But look at the carpet! Why didn't you cover it up?
Oh yes, I see what you mean.
Well, I can't think about all this now. I've had such a hard day.
Why? What happened?
Well, the meeting was difficult, and then I had such a long journey home. I'd been driving for only an hour when the car broke down.
Oh no!
Anyway, it took me much longer than normal, so I'm just going into my room to have a lie down.
Don't go in there just yet, Mum. Let me tell you about...
Well, come and tell me in my room so I can sit down.
That's what I wanted to tell you. I've painted your room too. And it was quite difficult, so you might not be too pleased. It was supposed to be a surprise.
Tra. Listen again and fill in the gaps. Stop the recording when you need to.
Unit 4. Recording 6.
Hi, Richard. I'm home. Where are you?
Upstairs, Mum. In my room.
Oh, Richard. Whatever have you been doing?
I've been painting my room.
Yes, I can see that. But why did you change colour halfway through?
Well, I'd done the ceiling and I'd painted one wall when I ran out of paint. So I went to the shop for some more, but then I realised the second pot was a slightly different colour. That's why it looks a bit odd.
But why were you painting anyway? I thought you'd planned lots of things to do with your friends.
Oh, they were all busy in the end. And yesterday afternoon I was bored. I'd been to town for a few hours, round the centre. I'd done the shopping, everything on your list, and I'd finished all my homework, so I decided to paint my room.
Well, I suppose you can put some posters up. But look at the carpet! Why didn't you cover it up?
Oh yes, I see what you mean.
Well, I can't think about all this now. I've had such a hard day.
Why? What happened?
Well, the meeting was difficult, and then I had such a long journey home. I'd been driving for only an hour when the car broke down.
Oh no!
Anyway, it took me much longer than normal, so I'm just going into my room to have a lie down.
Don't go in there just yet, Mum. Let me tell you about...
Well, come and tell me in my room so I can sit down.
That's what I wanted to tell you. I've painted your room too. And it was quite difficult, so you might not be too pleased. It was supposed to be a surprise.
4. Look at your answers to exercise 3 and answer these questions. 1. Look at answers 1, 2, and 3. Did 3 happen before or after 1 and 2? What tenses does Richard use? 2. Look at answers 4, 5, 6, and 7. Did 4 happen before or after 5, 6, and 7? What tenses does Richard use? 3. Look at answers 8 and 9. Which happened first? What tenses does Richard's mother use? B. Grammar. 1. Past perfect simple, present perfect simple. Affirmative sentence. Had the past participle. He'd painted the ceiling. Negative sentence. Had not the past participle. He hadn't painted the ceiling. Interrogative sentence. Had the past participle. Had he painted the ceiling? We use the past perfect simple when we are already talking about the past and want to make it clear that we are referring back to an even earlier time. Yesterday afternoon I was bored. I'd been to town, I'd done the shopping, and I'd finished all my homework, so I decided to paint my room. Yesterday morning means earlier. I'd been to town, I'd done the shopping, I'd finished my homework. Yesterday afternoon means later. I was bored, I decided. Today, Richard is speaking today. In some sentences with time expressions, when, after, by the time, as soon as, when one event happened before the other. I'd painted one wall when I ran out of paint. By the time Richard's mother got home, he'd finished painting the room. With the adverbs just, already, ever, and never, they go between the auxiliary and the main verb. See also Unit 8. He'd just finished painting when his mother came in. When she got home, he'd already finished painting the room. Until last weekend, he'd never painted a room. Had he ever done any painting before? We don't use the past perfect if one action happened at the same time as another. When Richard's mother saw the room, she was horrified. Not when Richard's mother had seen. If one action happened immediately after the other and was connected to it. In sentences like these, the first action is often the cause of the second. When Jill heard the baby cry, she ran to pick him up. Not when Jill had heard. Notice the difference in meaning between these two sentences. When Richard's mother came into the room, he stopped painting. Means she came in, so he stopped. Richard's mother came into the room. Richard stopped painting. When Richard's mother came into the room, he'd stopped painting. Means he stopped some time before she came in. Richard stopped painting. Richard's mother came into the room. 2. Past perfect continuous. Affirmative sentence. Had been plus verb plus ing. I'd been working hard. Negative sentence. Had not been plus verb plus ing. She hadn't been working hard. Interrogative sentence. Had been plus verb plus ing. Had you been working hard? We use the past perfect continuous to emphasize a continuous activity or how long it continued. He had a headache because he'd been playing computer games for hours. We use the past perfect simple when we do not need to emphasize a continuous activity or the period of time. He'd played all of the computer games and wanted to do something different. We use the past perfect continuous when we talk about how long something happened up to a point in the past. How long had you been driving when the car broke down? By the time she arrived, I'd been waiting for 2 hours. We use the past perfect simple when we talk about how many or how often up to a point in the past. I'd driven 6 kilometers when the car broke down. By the time I was 18, I'd visited Canada 6 times. State verbs, see Unit 1, B3, are not usually used in the past perfect continuous. I'd known her since she was 4 years old. Not I'd been knowing her. C. Grammar exercises. 1. Complete the sentences with the correct form of the past perfect simple. 1. The new school building had only been open for a month before it was destroyed in a fire. 2. I sent back the trainers that I order online because they were too small. 3. We planned to arrive early, but we overslept as usual. 4. As soon as I tasted the curry, I realized I leave the garlic out. 5. How many questions you answer when the bell rang? 6. Luckily the band not start playing when we reached our seats. 7. You already booked tickets when you heard the match was canceled? 8. It was only after I post the parcel that I realized I forget to put my address on the back of it. 9. Anyone not tell Andy that the bus times change? 10. Because the team never do very well before, they were delighted to reach the final. 2. Complete the sentences with the correct form of the past perfect continuous. 1. I'd been hoping no one would notice I wasn't at the meeting. 2. What you eat that made you so ill. 3. The students not expect a test that day. 4. We couldn't understand where the cat lived for the past 12 months. 5. Alexi gave the wrong answer because he not pay attention. 6. Where Anya's family lived before they moved to this street. 7. Nobody watched the television for some time, so I turned it off. 8. Why was Jeff in such bad temper? The other boys tease him again. 9. We were so disappointed when the hotel closed. We go there for holidays since I was a small child. 10. It wasn't until I got home that I noticed that I wear odd socks all day. 3. Fill in the gaps with suitable verbs in the past perfect continuous. 1. The phone had been ringing for several minutes before I heard it. 2. Katya, German with Mr. Fauser for very long when he retired. 3. Liz didn't know about the surprise party, which her parents, for weeks. 4. I was very pleased when the bus finally arrived because I thought I would be late for work. 5. When the doctor eventually called my name for 40 minutes. 6. My brother lost his job because he jokes to everyone in the office by email. 7. The band sewed for long when the lights went out. 8. Our money to buy a car, but we decided to go to Brazil instead. 9. I finally got through to Ellie, but for a few minutes when we got cut off. 10. How long for the car keys when Peta found them in her pocket? 4. Each of these sentences has a verb in the past perfect simple. Is it possible to replace it with the past perfect continuous? 1. I'd worked for the engineering company for 3 months before I realized my neighbor also worked there. Yes, I'd been working. 2. As soon as George had finished the race, he drank 3 glasses of water. 3. Everything was white because it had snowed heavily during the night. 4. My parents were delighted when I qualified because they had always wanted me to be a doctor. 5. She was exhausted when she got out of the pool because she'd swum 3 kilometers. 6. We'd only just sat down at our table when the waitress came to take our order. 7. I could tell immediately from their faces that they had argued about something. 8. Our dinner wasn't cooked because I'd forgotten to switch the oven on. 9. The tourist guide hadn't spoken loudly enough for all the group to hear what he was saying. 10. When I got to the cafe, my friends had already left, so I had to run to catch up with them. 5. Fill in the gaps with the past simple, past perfect, or past perfect continuous form of the verbs. 1. I'd never ridden a bike until I went to live in Amsterdam. 2. When Martin too into the room, his mother nearly because she'd him for nearly 20 years. 3. We were held up in a traffic jam, so the concert by the time we... 4. How long this one? For jobs when you... 5. Elisa when I went round last night because to stay with her grandmother. 6. For about 4 hours that I was completely lost. 7. When I into the room, everyone talking and yelling at me. 8. After his clothes, them outside to dry. 9. The manager was shocked when that Jane was a thief. Up until then, that she was completely honest. 10. Any carpentry before that cupboard? 6. Fill in the gaps with the past simple, past perfect, or past perfect continuous form of these verbs. Agree, answer, arrange, arrive, bang, come, forget, have, hear, move, phone, play. The band played on. I had a rather embarrassing experience last year. At that time, I played in a band with some friends of mine and, rather nervously, we'd agreed to provide the music at a friend's wedding. We'd together for about 3 months, and it was the first booking week, so we'd been practicing really hard. The wedding was on a Saturday. The day before the wedding, I had moved to a new flat, so I furniture all day and gone to bed exhausted. At 9 o'clock on the Saturday morning, the rest of the band met to practice. They kept phoning me, so in the end, one of them frowned and on my door for 15 minutes until I woke up. He told me that they day me all morning. I asked anything and I nearly missed the wedding. Then when I finally died at the wedding, I realized that I died my guitar. Exam practice. Reading and use of English, Part 5. You are going to read an extract from a novel. For questions 1 to 6, Choose the answer which you think fits best according to the text. Falcon Park was a typical English suburban road, some 50 years old. The individuality of the properties had increased over the years, as successive owners had remodeled and added to their homes. Garages had been converted into kitchen extensions, and lawns had become parking spaces, while adventurous gardeners had experimented with rocks and olive trees or palm trees. About halfway along the southern side of the road was number 18. It was a detached house, double-fronted. The paintwork was in good order, although it was not fresh. The concrete driveway was scarred with cracks and oil stains, and the space for parking had been extended with gravel. A yew hedge straggled across in front of the graveled area. The curtains were firmly closed and the windows too. The place had an unloved air, unlike the majority of its neighbors. It was a quiet morning. About 11 o'clock, a car drew up outside number 18. It was a gray saloon. Not very new, not very clean. There were two men in it. They had an air of determination about them, with a hint of aggression. They could have been debt collectors. The driver got out and walked to the front door. He rang the bell. It echoed and re-echoed inside the house. No one opened the door. The air was still and the house seemed deserted. The man took out his phone and called a number. He listened, then turned away from the house, went back to the car, and drove away. Around midday, the sky clouded over and a nippy little wind started. The children who had been playing a fairly unenthusiastic game of football around various parked cars therefore decided at that point to take themselves off to see if the weekend sport had begun on television. The street was almost empty when a large dark green van parked outside number 18, and three men in matching fleeces got out. The tallest of them approached a woman working in the garden of number 20 and asked her if she had a water meter.
We've had a report that there may be a leak round here,
he explained. The woman at number 20 was no doubt mindful of a crime prevention circular she had received very recently, and said that she would expect them to know whether she had a water meter if they were genuine employees of the water company. The tall man from the van showed a card to the skeptical woman, which seemed to satisfy her. She went into her house and left them to it. The three men busied themselves in the driveway of number 18. They raised a manhole cover, then one man got a toolbox from the van, went round the side of the house, and into the back garden. After a few minutes, the front door opened, and he appeared at it, signaling to his colleagues. The tall man closed the manhole cover, took another toolbox from the van, and went to the doorstep. He glanced around. Then he also entered the house, leaving the front door ajar. The third man reversed the van into the driveway. Suddenly, the two men came running out of the house and scrambled into the van as it accelerated out of the drive and disappeared up the road, narrowly missing a teenager who was sauntering across it. 10 minutes later, a police car turned sharply into Falcon Park and drew to a halt outside number 18. Two uniformed officers got out and entered the house. Someone had forced the door on a locked cupboard in the study, and the police found the contents scattered on the floor and in the kitchen at the end of the hall. The frosted glass in the back door had been neatly removed and placed under a bush. Exam practice 1. Most of the houses in Falcon Park, A, were almost identical, B, had large gardens, C, were well looked after, D, belonged to large families. 2. The writer suggests that the driver of the gray car, A, had visited number 18 before, B, might threaten the residents in some way, C, had been invited to call by the owner, D, was upset when no one answered the door. 3. The children decided to go indoors because A, there was a change in the weather, B, there were too many cars in the road, C, they had finished their game of football, D, they were missing the sport on television. 4. What made the woman at number 20 suspicious? A, she had heard a news report about thieves. B, she didn't like the way the tall man spoke to her. C, she was surprised to be asked about her water meter. D, she knew nothing about a leak in the area. 5. What does it in line 26 refer to? A, the tall man's card. B, the driveway of number 18. C, the house next door. D, the work they had to do. Exam tip: the questions follow the text, but there may be more than one question on a paragraph. Grammar-focused task 1. Without looking back at the text, complete these sentences with the verbs in the box. Use the correct tense, past simple, past perfect, or past perfect continuous. Then check your answers in the text. Be, become, decide, experiment, find, force, increase, play, receive, remodel. 1. The individuality of the properties had increased over the years as successive owners their homes. 2. Lawns, parking spaces, while adventurous gardeners with rocks and olive trees or palm trees. 3. The children who, a fairly unenthusiastic game of football, therefore, to take themselves off. 4. The woman at number 20, no doubt mindful of a crime prevention circular she, very recently. 5. Someone, the door on a locked cupboard in the study, and the police, the contents scattered on the floor. 2. Why do you think the men came running out of the house? What had happened? Unit 4. A. Context listening, Part 2. 1. He's been painting his room. 2. She's angry because there is paint on the carpet, Part 3. 2. Wood painted. 3. Ran out of 4. Was. 5. Would been. 6. Would done. 7. Would finished. 8. Would been driving. 9. Broke down. Part 4. 1. 3 happened after 1 and 2. He uses the past perfect for 1 and 2 and the past simple for 3. 2. 4 happened after 5, 6, and 7. He uses the past simple for 4 and the past perfect for 5, 6, and 7. 3. 8 happened first. She uses the past perfect continuous for 8 and the past simple for 9. C. Grammar exercises. Part 1. 2. D or had ordered. 3. D or had planned. 4. Had left. 5. Had you answered. 6. Hadn't started. 7. Had you already booked. 8. D or had posted. D or had forgotten. 9. Hadn't anyone told, had changed. 10. Had never done. C. B1. Part 2. 2. Had you been eating. 3. Hadn't been expecting. 4. Had been living. 5. Hadn't been paying. 6. Had Anya's family been living. 7. Had been watching. 8. Had the other boys been teasing. 9. Did been going. 10. Did been wearing. CB2. Part 3. 2. Hadn't been learning or studying. 3. Had been planning or organizing. 4. D or had been worrying. 5. D or had been waiting. 6. D or had been sending. 7. Hadn't been playing. 8. D or had been saving. 9. D or had only been speaking or talking. 10. Had they been looking or searching. CB2. Part 4. 2. No. 3. Yes. Had been snowing. 4. No. 5. No. 6. No. 7. Yes. Had been arguing. 8. No. 9. Yes. Hadn't been speaking. 10. B1 to B2. Part 5. 2. Came, fainted, hadn't seen. 3. Had begun, arrived. 4. Had you been applying, got. 5. Didn't see, a D or had gone. 6. A D or had been driving, realized. 7. Went, stopped, looked. 8. A D or had washed, hung. 9. Discovered, a D or had believed. 10. Had you ever done, built, B1 and B2. Part 6. 2. D or had been playing. 3. D or had ever had. 4. D or had been moving. 5. D or had arranged. 6. Didn't answer. 7. Came. 8. Banged. 9. D or had been phoning. 10. Hadn't heard. 11. Arrived. 12. D or had forgotten. C. B1 to B2. Exam practice. Reading and use of English, Part 5. 1. C. 2. B. 3. A. 4. C. 5. D. 6. B. Grammar focused task, part 1. 1. Had remodeled. 2. Had become, had experimented. 3. Had been playing, decided. 4. Was, had received. 5. Had forced, found. 2. Sample answer. We can't be sure. Perhaps they'd realized there was someone in the house. Perhaps they'd heard a police siren. Perhaps they'd seen a ghost. Goodbye.